60 years ago, a revolution swept across China, bringing the communists to power and forming the People's Republic of China. Today, a new experiment in land policy is underway that could once again bring sweeping changes to hundreds of millions of rural peasants. I'm Fauzia Ibrahim. In this edition of 101 East, we ask if land reform can stop the rise of rural disturbances while maintaining China's economic progress. Across China, rural peasants are becoming increasingly defiant as they try to protect their land and livelihood. But for many, it's a losing battle. Steve Nettleton reports.
Land is a matter of life and death. It is survival.
Land is the root of farmers. As the old saying goes, workers are rooted in machines, farmers are rooted in land.
China's soil sowed the seeds of a revolution when Mao Zedong attracted millions of peasants with his promise to seize land from greedy landlords. 60 years later, China's development juggernaut is colliding with an increasingly defiant rural population, determined to protect what they consider their only security, their land. It is a battle the farmers are mostly losing. Huang Chuncha first lost his farmland, then his home. His land was taken in 2007 when construction began on a new development zone on the fringe of Nan'an City in southern Fujian province. Later, city officials told him they wanted his house to make way for a road. When Huang refused the city's terms, demolition crews flattened his home and seized his furniture, clothes, and his savings.
My
father tried to stop them from destroying the house. They took him away and beat him.
Huang now lives in his father's old home next door. Without land, he says his choices are few. He can go to the city and search for work, or stay home and live in poverty. For now, he survives by recycling garbage for $3 to $4 a day.
In the past, I had land. Together with some money I made elsewhere, it was enough to raise the whole family. But now I have no solution. I don't know what I should do. I went to the court, but they didn't pay any attention.
The fate of China's land has been a governing challenge for centuries. It played a key role in the revolution that ushered the communists to power in 1949. Today, land rights remain one of the most combustible issues facing the growth-oriented ruling party, which must decide how far to go in dismantling policies established by its founding fathers, while improving conditions for the hundreds of millions of Chinese who live in rural areas.
What is the top priority in Chinese rural policy? Land. But what is the land working for? For rural households' survival, not for economic efficiency.
Mao Zedong had a very different aim for farmland when he launched the Great Leap Forward in 1958. Private plots were seized and pooled into huge people's communes. But the Great Leap Forward and the collectives took a heavy toll on villages like Xiaogang in rural Anhui province in eastern China. Nearly half of the people in Xiaogang died of starvation.
那时候是没得吃没得穿。
We were homeless beggars with no food or clothes. Those who stayed in Xiaogang to work on the land all starved. Others who left for other cities could at least beg for some rice and flour. Everyone else went hungry. I once vomited blood because of hunger.
In November 1978, Yan Junchang was a leader of a collective farm. He realized that to stay alive, he would have to take drastic measures.
I gathered some of the older villagers together and told them we could not continue to depend on the state. If Xiaogang stayed on this course, even the young people would starve to death. I asked, how could we save ourselves? The others said the only hope would be for each family to farm a unit of land suitable to feed themselves.
Yan and 17 other villagers made a secret pact to parcel the communal farmland into family plots. It was an illegal agreement, one that might have been seen as capitalist by the government and lead to their execution. But when local party leaders heard about it, they agreed to give them a chance. The next year, Xiaogang farmers posted record harvests, and its neighbors took notice.
Our lives completely changed the first year of the reform. The experiment greatly influenced the surrounding villages. The town government could not hold back the huge demand of nearby villages to adopt the new system.
China's central government embraced the so-called household responsibility system as the new model for rural land. The land remains the property of the state, but farmers are given 30-year leases to grow what they choose. It's a policy that has prevailed for 3 decades. Its founding has been enshrined by the Communist Party as a seminal moment in modern Chinese history, and Xiaogang village has become a minor tourist attraction, complete with a museum and visitors center. But today, on this historic land, Yan's son is leading a new experiment that he believes represents a different future for rural China. Yan De-yo manages a 13-hectare vineyard, composed of household plots he has leased from 17 villagers. He's also cultivating a much larger tract nearby, which will be ready for harvest within 1 or 2 years. Though some might view his efforts as a reversal of his father, a move back to collectivization, Yan views it as a step toward modernization.
In the past, they only hoped to get rid of starvation. But now, after 30 years of the household responsibility system, farmers have their own land, and the problem of starvation is solved. So how can we further improve our lives? We can seek to improve our living conditions.
Yan claims his grapevines yield anywhere from 20 to 30 times more profit than he'd earn growing rice on a single household plot. He says the farmers who lease him the land are better off too.
Generally, the more they rent, the richer they are, because they have the time to do other business as well. In the past, they only had income from farming.
It's an idea that has caught on in Xiaogang. About 60% of the village farmland is now leased for industrial production of grapes, mushrooms, and livestock. China's central government also endorsed the idea last year, issuing a policy granting farmers the freedom to lease or subcontract their land use rights to boost the scale of farm production. Yan Junchang isn't convinced of his son's strategy.
I know he is under great pressure. He rents too much. Some say we should go back to the old ways. But the country would collapse in 3 years if the collective economy was restored. For the country's further development, land should continue to be farmed in family units.
But many farmers say China's current land system leaves them vulnerable to land grabs and exploitation. Without a clear policy giving them greater rights, even ownership, they warn China's rural masses may grow more and more restless.
Coming up after the break, we look at how China's land reform is tied to the country's future economic development. Stay with 101 East.